My husband and I were at the store, and our baby was being particularly fussy, so he took her for a little drive, which typically helps to settle her down. He pulled back into the parking lot to wait for me because it only took about 10 minutes to settle her, and I was still in the store. He sat her in her car seat outside the store on one of the benches because it was an unusually pleasant day. He was on a business call and had just placed them down, swaying the carrier absently, when a woman in her mid-30s approached them. People often want to play with our baby because she has enormous pink cheeks, soft wisps of gold hair, and the most adorable toothless grin, especially when she's sleeping soundly. My husband was going to tell the woman that she couldn't play with our kid right now because of her nap schedule. She came right over to them beaming with careless confidence, and before he could finish explaining that she was napping and not to be disrupted, she grabbed the carrier and began walking away. He was stunned for a while, unable to believe someone would do anything so wicked in broad daylight. So he told her to lay down as his anxiety grew. She maintained her calm throughout, but when he yelled after her, she began walking away more quickly than she had approached. He charged ahead at full speed, attempting to wrestle the carrier from her grip, eventually restricting her arms. "Help! He's trying to take my baby! Kidnapping! 911, help!" She screamed as she kicked him in the shin and pulled a pink pepper spray bottle from her handbag. Of course, no one in the parking lot had noticed the previous encounter and suspected he was a kidnapper. A lone man in a Deadpool shirt versus a tiny, well-dressed woman. My spouse was immediately knocked to the ground and held down by a man. Bystanders were encouraging the woman to file a police report. She was believable in her act of being rattled up and insisting she simply wanted to get home. He was in a condition of complete fear, screaming and pleading with them to return the child to him, but no one was listening. I was leaving the store at this point and assumed he was being robbed by these people. I was calling for security when I noticed he wasn't carrying our baby, and one of the men who was holding him down said, "Lady, we need to wait for the cops to deal with him." And because I was bewildered, the stranger claimed that my husband had attempted to steal my child. I continued trying to figure out what the man was saying until it all came together. When I turned around to search for the woman with the infant carrier, she was already halfway across the parking lot. I went into ballistic tiger cub mode, leaping from my heels and sprinting across the parking lot. I grabbed onto her hair as hard as I could, and she dropped the carrier as a result. I was so terrified and astonished that I simply flung myself on top of the carrier, covering it completely with my body like a blanket, and remained there for the rest of the day without saying or doing anything else. The woman walked away. No one attempted to stop her, despite the fact that she was clearly exiting without the child she claimed to be hers, which would have been pretty damn suspicious if I'd been around at the time. Police were on their way in minutes. Even after all that, some witnesses claimed that my husband was attempting to take the child, so the cops were still skeptical that this was my child. My husband had called his brother, who works for the police department at that point, and was connected with one right away, who gave us the invaluable advice to get every officer's name and badge number, to immediately request copies of the store's security tapes, and to escalate a complaint higher up the chain. Finally, we had cause to believe we were being taken seriously, and the cops had no choice but to launch an inquiry. We returned home and trembled and cried till we had to pick up our other children from school. My husband is enraged and frustrated, feeling helpless because there was nothing he could do, and he has 2 fractured ribs from the man's kick. Amazingly and frustratingly, there were still individuals who lingered to talk to cops who were staring my husband down, but thank God we still had our baby.
Am I the asshole for not wanting to take down my rainbow flag? My girlfriend's parents are visiting us for the first time. I am bi, and I have a rainbow flag. It's cute, and I love it, as it took a long time to come to terms with the fact that I like men too, and even more time to be in a place where I could come out. She wants me to take it down while her parents visit. We have met a few times before, but I haven't really talked about it, and they have assumed I'm straight. She wants me to take it down so as to prevent avoidable conflict. She understands that her parents are in the wrong, but she just wants me to pull it down. It's just a flag, and it's not like it has any impact on my life. I am being stubborn here. It wouldn't really hurt me to take down the flag. I know I am running the risk of ruining the evening by not taking it down. I feel I am being insecure here, and I should just pretend to be straight for one more night. She misses her parents, and I feel like I'm being too stubborn about it. Am I the asshole?
My sister is 27 and I'm 18. We lost our dad a year ago. He was our only parent as our mom was never in mine or my sister's life. Our dad left a good chunk of inheritance money for me and my sister. She instantly blew her inheritance on luxury items like new cars and renovated her house. My brother-in-law wouldn't allow me to stay with them, so I'm currently living with my aunt at our house. I want to become a doctor and haven't picked my branch yet, but I know it's going to be expensive. My sister and I haven't been close ever since she got married to her chronically ill husband who was allowed to make backhanded comments about my dad and mock his illness, then make a scene at his funeral. This was all allowed because he's ill and shouldn't be held accountable for his behavior. I've distanced myself, but recently my sister kept visiting and venting about my brother-in-law's condition. He's been in and out of the hospital for heart problems and a need for a surgery. She brought up my inheritance money several times, but I ended up cutting the conversation short whenever it was mentioned. She then straight up asked if I could help pay for her husband's surgery and she'd pay it back in less than a year. I felt uneasy because if I give her the money, then there's no guarantee she'll pay it back before it's time to pay for my tuition. I'm taking a gap year, but I know my sister can't pay that much back and I felt like it would be risking my future. When I refused to help, she had a meltdown at my aunt's house calling me heartless and cruel with no empathy. She said that her husband's health should be priority and I needed to help her because education is nothing compared to someone's health. She then asked if I'd be happy to see her as a widow and my nephew with no father. My aunt suggested others pay, but most of them cut my sister and her husband off. I argued that her husband's poor health isn't my fault after she kept blaming me and guilt-tripping me. She kept crying, and although my aunt decided to stay out of it, she said I should be prepared for permanent damage in my relationship with my sister if I don't help her now. She's been sending texts and pictures of her family telling me that this is what I'm saying no to, a happy, healthy family with a healthy husband and father. I broke down and I feel like I'm being a terrible aunt and sister. However, when I asked my friend for advice, he said that let them sell their cars and luxurious stuff they bought to afford the surgery and warned me that if I give her the money now, I'll never get it back and may not be able to go to medical school. Am I wrong for refusing to pay for my brother-in-law's surgery?
Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend that she was a slob? My girlfriend really hasn't had the best hygiene since COVID. And one day she asked to hang out and she was on her period. So when she obviously needed to go to the bathroom, she went, but she left the door open. And I could visibly see her tampon was full of blood, and she didn't change it. And when she was all done with all that, she didn't even wash her hands, she just walked right out. I was visibly disgusted, and I told her that she was a slob, and now she left and is ignoring me. So, I'm just wondering, am I actually the asshole for telling my girlfriend that she is a slob? And remember guys, you guys can always submit stories to me on my Instagram DM. It might take me a second to get to it, but I'll get to it. Am I the asshole for refusing to move back in with my biological father? I'm 15 and I have a mentally abusive biological father. I was 12 when I made the decision to move out of my childhood home, where he lives, and move in with my mom and my stepdad. Because I was wearing a crop top and my father told me I was going to be R, and it was going to be my fault because of the clothes I wear. Then proceeded to scream in my face and call me a bitch. I was so hurt after him saying those things. When my dad's side got wind of me choosing not to live with him, they said I was being brainwashed by my mother, which could not be further from the truth. For the past 3 years, I've had many family members try to force me into living with him again, and obviously that is not mentally healthy or anything. I do not want to move back there. So, am I the asshole for not wanting to move back in with my biological father? Also, remember guys, you guys can always send me stories through my Instagram DM. Thank you.
Am I the asshole for having my 18-year-old daughter pay for her own feminine hygiene products? My 18-year-old daughter graduated a week ago. She pays rent, splits the bills with me, and pays for her own phone bill. She's a very independent young girl. As a 56-year-old woman, I'm at an age where I don't have a menstrual cycle anymore, and so I don't buy products for that purpose anymore. And so it turned out to happen when she turned 18, so it was as if it were perfect timing to stop buying them. But even if she were under 18 and I still didn't have this anymore, I would stop buying them as well. Since she's 18, I feel better about not having to go out and buy them since she's at that age where she's graduated and independent. My boyfriend somehow found out that she's been using napkins she bought at the grocery store. He said that he asked her why she bought 2 packs of napkins, and she explained that she needs them for personal use and assumed it was for that. I didn't believe him at first until I asked her about it, and she explained to me that she makes homemade tampons by rolling the napkins, and she does it to save money. I have money myself so I could go out and buy them for her, but she would need to pay me back. He asked me what I thought when I finished talking to her alone, and I said that he was right and explained that she does it to save money, and he was furious and said that I should be providing for those for her. I told him that I no longer buy them, and because I no longer use them, because when I did I would share, but now, especially because she's 18, she can buy her own. I know she's my daughter, but the support has to stop sometime. The reason my boyfriend was furious was because she got her thing and found out there were no products left. So she had to use napkins, and now she only uses those. This is her own issue to deal with, and she has no problem being self-sufficient. She's been 18 for several months now. So am I the asshole for making my 18-year-old